Good morning, and thank you all for joining us this morning. Um, this morning's going to be a kind of an experiment for me because I had a talk prepared, but not about engaged Buddhism. But I had the sense that I wanted to continue um, that theme that Linda and Nellie are talking about this week. And of course, well, not to, well, tomorrow, I guess, is an opportunity. I'm not quite sure where to go, but if you want to join Linda's group uh, with the other Buddhist group, you can do so. And then in January, I believe, it's going to be a regular part of our daily online meditation. So anyway, engaged Buddhism. As Linda defined yesterday, engaged Buddhism is bringing ethics, awareness, and compassion to societal issues. That is, by people who are engaging in meditation or Buddhist practice. And I remember when I started practicing at a very traditional Zen center in the 70s and 80s. And within the center, we, I don't know, we just were very inward focusing, very insular, and just concentrating on our own practice, our own Sangha. Seemed like what was happening outside of us didn't count, didn't matter. And I'm not saying that was, I'm not discounting that, but that was the general feeling as I recall it at that time. Excuse me. But I think nowadays there are many centers, Zen and otherwise, that are very much practicing by including societal issues like environmental issues and LGBTQ issues, racial issues, and that kind of thing. So one of the difficulties with engaged Buddhism is that you prioritize, at least in my view, you prioritize non-harm, dialogue, and reconciliation. So you try to bring that to a situation where you're feeling really upset, feeling disconnected with whatever you're whatever group that you're opposing. So that's a difficult thing, and I think we have to be pretty careful in terms of bringing high ideals to our sense of being engaged. That is, ideals of bringing compassion to what is inherently almost a violent situation, or the ideal of taking your meditative state, of calm and equanimity and so on, into some kind of action. And in my experience, that hasn't always happened for me. I have been involved with climate action for years, more than 10 years, and have, helped create large actions, marches, and that kind of thing over the years. And I recall, around 2015 being so optimistic with the Paris Accords being signed and looking like things were going to really take a positive turn in terms of the climate internationally. But obviously, over the years, that hasn't happened. So there's a real element of frustration and on my part, a kind of a sense of I wouldn't say I'm cynical, but at least some sense of burnout. So that's something uh, to keep in mind in engaged Buddhism. Um, and one thing that's really important, as Cynthia mentioned on Monday, is to respect and honor your own helplessness and your own powerlessness in a situation that is really global. And I have been reading a book called The Burning Earth, which is sort of a grand sweeping environmental history of the earth. It starts about 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, and comes up to the present. And reading that history gives you a sense that these issues in terms of environmental destruction and human exploitation have been going on for a long time. It's not new. And it does seem like the author of this book, the historian, ties human exploitation and environmental extraction together. For example, he uses the example of the plantation model, which was developed in the 16th century in growing sugarcane and bringing enslaved peoples from Africa to clear the land and grow sugarcane. So people were enslaved, as well as the land and the soil were pretty much destroyed. So, but the book emphasized, that there are these instances of, not instances, this thread of greed in terms of creating that situation, but also the growing freedom and choices, and for large groups of people not to be at mercy to the natural world. So it's this sort of contradiction in terms of, in one sense, destroying the earth, and on the other, bringing large groups of people into a greater sense of, a greater ability to have a more comfortable and secure life. So, I can see that it's in engaged Buddhism, it's easy to go out with a kind of high ideal and then become frustrated or sort of give up. Over the years, in terms of my own action, I've become a little less active out in the front line, so to speak. I'm more involved with planning and governance and that kind of thing of this organization that I work with. But still feel, like there's a lot that we can be doing. In terms of our own practice, though, it's again remembering to bring this spirit of non-harm, dialogue, and reconciliation to the very difficult situation that we are in. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Thank you for listening to me this morning. We will now go into our meditation of approximately 30 minutes. We'll have some time for reflection after that, and then come back together in our group. Don't forget to turn off your videos as we go into meditation.